Hello.
All right. Well, welcome to Dish the Diet and Face the Feelings, UK evening time with Nina Zevic, Samantha D, and Shweta Desai. We're talking today about I Am Worth It. And if you caught yesterday's panel, we were talking about keeping your word, especially to yourself, because most of us think we have integrity because we keep our word to other people. Mm-hmm. But the question really is, do we keep it to ourselves? And when we don't keep it to ourselves, why are we not keeping it to ourselves? Why do we let ourselves down? Why am I the person that least trusts me? Mm-hmm. Other people trust me, but I don't trust me. Probably because I've let myself down. Because I've committed to doing something for myself, and then somebody says, will you do this for me? And I say yes, because I'm nice and polite, and I really do want to help them. Mm-hmm. And I go do that for them. And in saying yes to that, I have said no to myself. Yeah. So today, it's equally tough like yesterday, but today we're talking about self-worth, my worth. I'm worth it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I would love to hear what you girls have to say on this topic.
Well, there's a huge sort of mindfulness chunk attached to this, isn't there? Because when we do something for ourselves or commit to something for ourselves, we have to constantly say to ourselves, I'm doing this because I'm worth it. And quite often we don't. We get caught up in the routine of doing something, or, you know, trying to make a new habit. And we don't often stop and say, okay, just remind myself why I'm doing this. So I think there's a big mindfulness chunk involved where, you know, we forget to stop and say, okay, who am I doing this for? You know, why am I doing this? And, you know, how am I going to feel afterwards? So I think it's got a lot to do with that, for sure.
Yeah. Yep. And I think it's also a lot about being sort of being able to prioritize enough to know when to say no, because we are very good at always putting ourselves last. And when we do that, we are basically validating everything about, I don't need to do this for myself because my kids are more important, my husband's more important, work is more important, every other person is more important because I've just got to give. But when I give so much, there's nothing left in there for me. My cup's empty and then I'm burning out. But how do I stop? And when do I stop? Because I've overcommitted now and everybody's relying on me. So, you know, how do I stop me from doing all this work now? You know, so it's a very, and honestly, whenever you break this cycle, there is someone who is going to come back and say, but you were going to do this, you know, and then when you say, oh my God, I'm going to put myself first. Am I being selfish?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and being selfish isn't nice.
Yeah. Like and we're told from a very early age that you can't be selfish, but they never explain to you the difference between being selfish and between taking care of yourself. You know, I remember my daughter was getting picked on by one of the boys at school. And I'd said to her, you're not allowed to hit anybody, you know, because, you know, we don't hit people. And I finally turned around and said to her, I want you to tell that boy that the next time he hits you, you got permission from your mommy to hit him back. Well, she went back to school and she told that boy that her mommy had given him permission that if he hit her again, she was allowed to hit him back. End of problem. She never hit it.
Love it. Yeah.
But she suddenly was empowered to be able to say, you're not allowed to hit yourself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. But we're told we're not allowed to be selfish. And you're right. We're not supposed to be selfish. We're supposed to be loving and kind and caring and compassionate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But we're never actually taught to say, but there's a line.
And
Yeah.
I
And we
have
never taught where
boundaries,
the
and
line
I
is.
have, and you need to respect me because I'm worth it. I'm worthy of receiving respect. And if I say no to a social commitment, or I say no to you asking me a favor, if you asked me a question, a yes, no question, theoretically, I'm allowed to say yes or no. If I'm not allowed to say no, it wasn't a question, it wasn't a favor, it was an order.
Exactly.
And I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were giving orders.
Or that you were taking them.
We touched a nerve, Beth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're taught, we're raised to be nice to others, and you know, be respectful to others, and it almost has a subservient sound to it. But we're never taught, you know, if we're never taught where to draw the line. So you know, we're brought up to please other people in a very wide sense, but we're never taught about self-care and saying no, and saying no, I can't do that.
Yeah. And it's also when we are children, we are often not even allowed to say to the parents no, because they will push us to do what they think is right.
Right.
And although they mean well, it brings this feeling and this belief in us that we are not allowed to say no. And with being selfish, it's not only that children are taught not to be selfish. Grown-ups, when they stand up for themselves, are also called selfish. So it doesn't stop at any age. And it's really up to us to decide when we don't care if someone will say we are selfish or that whatever they think in their mind, it's just up to us to stand up for ourselves.
I had the funniest experience over the last couple of days. I told my daughter she wasn't allowed to go outside. She pushed. She didn't want to, but you know, it was a battle of wills, and I finally got her to come back inside. I closed the door and I said, we need to talk about this, you know? So we sat down on the floor. We had a talk about, yes, I understand you want to go outside and play, but I said, not right now. I didn't say you couldn't. I just said, not now. You can go do this later, but right now we have something else we need to do. So what's wrong? So she expressed what she was going through at that moment in time of how she wanted to go outside right now. And I was like, I get that, but not now. Next day happens. And she asked me if I will do something. And I said, no. And she's like, can we talk about this?
Oh, isn't that great? I wish I was around to see this generation.
I created a monster. What am I doing?
Yeah, they are so good with figuring out how to use your tactics against you.
Yep. Yeah, my daughter has more on more than one occasion asked me, but how do you feel about that now? What's going on in your mind, mommy?
Wow.
You're only getting this on.
You're raising some little psychologists.
But it's much better approach than just saying no, and if they ask why and so on, you are like, because I say so. That's
Wow.
Well, Isabella's got to the stage where she understands that after a certain number of whys, it actually becomes funny, and she'll keep going with why until I start laughing.
Yeah.
Oh, but why?
Yeah. You know, because her sense of humor has just become so dark in recent months. I'm like, gosh, when you're 14, 15, people aren't going to know that you're joking. And she's just got a dark sense of humor of really understanding how to tell a joke.
You've just muted yourself, honey.
I think there's a plane.
Airplane flying over. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, man.
But I kind of wanted to mention that with regards to the sort of saying no thing and, you know, serving other people, there's a context in dieting that I wanted to mention, and that's, you know, being able to say no in a social situation without, you know, worrying about everybody else. So, for instance, getting invited out to eat. You know, you feel like, you know, you want to join in with everybody else, but there are certain things you have to say no to. And, you know, depending on who your friends are, they're going to say, oh, go on, you know, one won't hurt, or do this, or do that, or just have a piece of cake today. And, you know, the pressure to you know, stay involved for their benefit, because they want you to have a good time, and you need to say no. I can, you know, I you know, I'm in a place where I don't need to do that. And, you know, it's that kind of conflict in a social situation. You know, when you say no, or I don't want any dessert, thanks, you know, they kind of sort of, well, why, you know? And there's a lot of pressure there to sort of say no. I'm trying to look after myself. You know, I'm trying to, you know, be nice to myself nutritionally, and I can have just as great a time with you guys.
But it's the same with drinking, you know. I mean, like, you go out and you don't want to have a drink, and they're like, "Oh, but go on." But there's
you feel like you're spoiling their evening, don't you?
Right, but there's a point where they've asked you so many times that it's starting to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Okay, and I can understand the second, oh, go on. But, you know, when you're telling me the fourth time or the fifth time, you're no longer respecting my choice.
No.
You know, and
I'm probably getting a little bit peeved.
And the thing for me is, I'm sitting there going, well, wait a minute. Why can't I say no? You know, and then you've got the person, well, I was going to order a bottle of wine. We'll just order a glass.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not your problem.
Why is this now my responsibility if I'm choosing not to?
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's getting that place, you know, like I said at the beginning, of I'm worth it. I am worthy of setting my boundaries. I'm worthy of saying no to X. You know? So
and we do quite often forget that, because we don't, as I said before, we don't spend enough time reaffirming, you know, the reasons that we're, you know, deciding to make a nutritional change or an alcohol change or whatever change it is. We need to, you know, keep reminding ourselves that we're doing it because we have self-worth, you know.
And saying no is also a skill. It's really uncomfortable. The first time you do it, you are like, no, maybe no.
But especially if you've always said yes, especially if this is a change in behavior for you, you know, like if you've always said yes before and this is the first time you're saying no, they're like, well, wait a minute, are you okay? Are you sick? You know,
exactly. And it applies in a lot of situations, like, you know, at work, your colleagues could be saying, oh, we're going to the pub for lunch, you know, and when you say no thanks, they kind of think, oh, she's unsociable, you know, and
she thinks she's special.
And who does she think she is? Okay, absolutely.
So you know, it's sort of that kind of things that you're dealing with, and they create certain feelings as well, which then you have to deal with. Well,
because I mean, like, okay, Guillermo was saying in this culture that's a big peer pressure and cultural change to overcome if you're saying no to alcohol. And so, you know, you've got that pressure of, well, wait a minute, it's not okay for you to say no, but why isn't it not okay for me to say no? I'm not saying you can't have it. I'm just saying I don't want it at this moment in time.
Yeah.
I think we just need to practice and be sort of pioneers in the say and no department.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a very,
You know, otherwise there's not going to be any social change, is there?
there's a very nice concept called not giving a fuck and having a fuck budget. Which basically talks
I've
about
seen that, yeah.
it basically means that there's two social situations and you get to decide the ones that you want to give a fuck to and the ones that you don't want to. And then you've got and you've got, say, 10 fucks in a day for work, then you get to assign how many fucks you can give to going out
Okay,
to
I get where you're going now. I had a boss who was a great mentor, and he said to me, you know, you've got a gun and you only got 6 bullets in it.
Yep.
How are you going to use those bullets? Not everything is a fight. Don't always pull the gun out and shoot. Choose which one you're going to shoot. You know, just use it wisely. You've only got 6 of them, you know.
I would daydream about that opportunity.
No, Samantha. But you know, it was a great metaphor for me of understanding of like, okay, well, yeah, you're right. I mean, you got to choose your battles wisely. You got to choose, what do I care about? What do I simply not care about?
Yeah.
Do I care? I care about our relationship. I don't care if you think that I can't have a drink because I don't want one.
And also think about this. It's only socially acceptable to put yourself first when it's too late and you've had a meltdown. And then everyone crowds around you and says, oh, you need some time. You need to rest. You need to recuperate.
And you need to look after yourself. And then they're telling you, and you should have been looking after yourself. And you're going, yeah, but when I said I wanted to look after myself, or I didn't want to go, or I didn't want to do this, you're the first one that says, no, you've got to.
Yeah.
Because, and one of my mentors, one of my coaches, Bonnie, is great. She's like, whose stage are you performing on? Each one of us has a stage.
Yeah.
And everyone is going to ask you to join them on their stage. But how much time are you spending on their stage versus how much time are you spending on your stage? And I think it's a great metaphor, especially for us women. Well, we're constantly performing on other people's stages.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, you know, it's one of the biggest things I learned from Bonnie last year. It's like, oh, yeah, I need to define my stage. What is my stage? Where do I want to be? What do I want to be doing?
Yeah.
Yep. And equally, how much time do you want to spend on other people's stages?
Yeah.
Or even if you want to spend that time.
Right.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's that deciding I'm worth it. I am worthy of having my own stage and performing on my stage. I don't have to just be the backup singer on 10 different people's stages.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
We have to keep reminding ourselves that because of our, you know, natural altruistic nature in this particular industry as well. We're inclined to want to help other people because that's why we're coaches, right?
But that's what we do. But can I do it well if I'm not looking after myself? If there's no self-care?
No. Which is why I'm a real advocate for practicing self-care every day and not just when you're curled up in a ball in the kitchen rocking. You know,
oh, really? That was quite a graphic explanation.
Well, that did happen to me once when my cat unfortunately passed away like 8 years ago. And I just I had a lot of work on at the time, and I just slid down the kitchen cupboard and just sat there for half an hour. But, you know, I mean, we shouldn't be getting to that point. We should be able to say, look, this is my stage. And in order to perform well, I have to learn to say no. And, you know,
and I have to respect my own boundaries, you know, and I've got to realize that I have a message to give, not just everybody else's message, you know. And I know for myself, I got very caught up not so much last year, the year before last, and doing a whole lot of work and volunteering at my local church. And it was very fulfilling until I burnt out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And how crazy is that?
Exactly.
You're giving away yourself to the point where you crumble in a heap.
Exactly. And then who am I helping? I'm not helping anybody.
No.
Yep.
I'm just a mess.
Mm-hmm. And it's always, we don't realize as we're burning out that we're burning out. We just think, oh, I can do a little bit more, or I can do a little bit more.
Well,
It's
I
never
just need to get through this day. You know,
Yeah.
that's all.
Yeah. Just a little bit more and then it's done. And at one point you are like, who am I? Yeah. And often with saying no, especially with women, I notice that we always need some kind of an excuse if we are saying no. But
absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
No, it's not, no, I can't because blah, blah, blah. No, it's just
But we
no.
really have to justify that, as opposed to, I mean, a friend of mine said to me, the best way is, let me check my schedule. Let me check my commitments. And she's like, just give yourself time. Give yourself space to breathe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies, unfortunately, I have to go.
Because she's overstretched herself.
Yes. And so as wonderful as this conversation is, unfortunately, I do have boundaries. I have to respect today. And we will continue this conversation next week, because I think that especially starting the year with New Year's resolutions, this is so important, because it's not just what do I want to get done. It is what do I have to say no to in order to get done what I dream of.
Yep.
Has she seized up?
Yeah, I thought it's only me.
She's frozen.
Okay, well, I think she was in the middle of ending this meeting.
I see.
This panel, this joining of minds.
Yeah.
So, so it looks like we're going to continue on with it next week.
Exactly. Yeah. There is a lot to say.
Why does it still say live on Facebook?
Probably. Yeah, maybe. I think she's.
Oh yeah, that's out now.
Maybe. Oh, there she goes.
But we are still live.
Are we?
She'll jump back in, I think, and maybe end the session. We can do some pretending to talk, can't we? So yeah, we're doing it next week, and I just thought of something to say, and then it just went straight out of my head. So it looks like I need some downtime as well.
Yeah.
Beth, I think she's having tech problems, and she's overscheduled herself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, Beth.
It's just 3 participants now, and Nina's the host.
I'm here. But
she made you host.
I'm a host. How is that? Okay. Are we still live?
I think we are.
We probably are. So nobody start changing into your pajamas because we're still live.
Yeah.
Or getting the bottle of gin out. Okay, so I think we probably need to bow out gracefully because she's late for another meeting. So hopefully the stream will switch off.
Yeah.
But I'm going to switch off and unplug anyway. So
Yeah.
I'll see you girls next week.
See ya.
Bye.